I'm a British Horse Society coach, have been for many years, and have brought that expertise together with my knowledge of happy brain and practice of happy brain, and positive psychology and lots of other things, and found a really good fit for all of that in my coaching. Um, whether that's coaching riders in the arena on their horses, or one-to-one coaching of riders about riding their horses. And the fit, whether we're talking about the rider, the coach, the horses, is very natural. It is very, very natural, and it works really well. And the more I do it, the more I see the fit and the synergy and how it works together, and see the light bulbs coming for the riders. And if I'm honest, sometimes for the horses, who kind of go, oh, thank goodness they're talking my language.
Oh, that's really cool because there's a really new emphasis, isn't there, in the last few years about horse welfare? Not that it didn't exist before, but am I right in thinking that there's been a huge redirection of that?
Yeah, it's it's sort of badged under the general title, I guess, of social license to operate. And from some very high profile incidents that have happened in the equestrian world, that because of the power of the internet and social media have been shared way wider than the equestrian world, which has driven the general public to a large extent to question what it is that we actually do with horses and what's right. What should we be doing? How do we do all of that with a more compassionate and horse-centered approach? And I've seen a great shift in how discussions are had, how training is had, how horses are dealt with in my work around actually truly thinking about the horses as part of that relationship. So, in really crude terms, it's sort of gone from where at one time some people may have thought about the horse as kind of a little bit of a bike that you get out when you want to sit on and have a ride, and then you just kind of put it back in the garage. Obviously, it's never really been like that, but way more moving towards working with the horse as opposed to doing to the horse. Um, there's a bit of a divide, I think, as to how that should happen, even whether that should happen. As in any field, I would guess I would maybe call it a traditional old school of, well, they're bigger than us and they're brutes and you've just got to make them do it. And, they live like kings is a quote that we often hear, kind of through to the, well, if you breathe properly with your horse, they're going to do exactly as you want. I don't think either of those are true. There's a truth somewhere in the middle. And I've definitely seen a shift in clients wanting to explore some of that and truly starting to understand that they are a hugely influential part of that. And I think that's where the happy brain dovetails so well, because obviously happy brain is all about ourselves first, and then using that skill, knowledge, feeling in whatever field we're in, whether for me with horses, but I know you have other coaches who are working in other fields as well. But that's kind of how it works in the equestrian world.
And I love how you've integrated, and I know we've worked together a lot on creating new programs specifically for the equestrian field, and I love what you've done there. When you were speaking a moment ago, my brain was making kind of two polar pictures, really. One was when I was a child learning to ride horses. It was very much you get in charge of that horse and you make it do what you want it to do. And my first foray into horse riding was with an American owner. And that was different again, I now realize, which is very much you take the reins and you just move the heads and that's it. And
Mm.
stay on, by the way. But
Mm.
the other end of that polarity, you talked about breathing with the horse, and just the other day I was talking to somebody about the magnificence of those people that I've seen, and you might know the name of them, these artists who run alongside the horses, jump up on them, they stand on them, they somersault around them, off them, in them. They become one with the movement. They're completely synchronized, and to me that is just beautiful. So those were the two sort of polar pictures that I have in my mind
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
when you were talking there. Um, so we'll come back to the riding bit in a moment,
Mm.
but the bit that really fascinates me is, well, it all fascinates me, but the bit that I really want us to open up a little bit here is, what do horses do for us? What do they teach us? And whether that's us as adults, but particularly the young people, or people who perhaps have mental, emotional difficulties, problems. What do the horses do for us?
That's a huge subject. How long have we got?
All right, quick.
Okay, in summary, I guess the brilliant thing about horses is that because they live in the now, there's still a lot of research going on about how much horses use which parts of their brain. So, kind of in a happy brain model, um, horses don't have a hugely developed prefrontal cortex, so their ability to plan is thought to be way less than ours. And so when people say, oh, he came out the stable completely prepared to just deck me today. No, he really didn't. He can't do that. He doesn't have the ability to do that. Who knows what may have happened in that scenario? Because the horse lives very much in the response to the reptilian brain, where they just want to stay safe and not get eaten. Even now, even domesticated horses, where we've brought them into our world, unlikely they're going to get eaten by a lion or tiger, but they still live in that zone, I guess. And when you're around horses, if you cannot access that for yourself and tune into, so what's happening in my nervous system? How is it behaving? How am I managing that? The connection to the horse becomes less possible. And so we find that the horses will ignore us. They will, they've got their own agendas. Their focus is, I've got to survive, so I've got to be safe, and I have to eat and I have to drink is pretty much top for them. And so if you're not resonating on that level with them, they can't feel safe. So they've always kind of got part of themselves just ready to get away. It would be their first instinct. So when people are not coherent and congruent, we will see, I have seen for myself reactions from the horse, which, well, hang on, why is it done that? And it's because they've been responding to what I brought to them on that day. So being open to that feedback, that mirroring on a really unconscious level is so powerful. And as a coach, being able to watch all of that happening and guide somebody through that whilst managing my own state is such an amazing thing to be able to do. And watching how people are they learn from the horses. When I'm involved in that relationship, they don't learn from me. I guide it. It's the horses that show them if they're open to it.
I love that. I love that. As you know, if I could gift one thing to all of the people that I work with, if not wider than that, it would be the core of self-awareness, the ability to truly know without judgment, without analysis, how you are being, and and a lot of our work is around raising self-awareness, but the filters that get in the way, the fear of judgments, the all the old patterns that sort of, people talk about egoic structures, don't they? That sort of prevent us actually really looking deeper into the subconscious programs that we run.
Mm.
And when I think about the so if we go to that position of, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could gift, and our work right upstream with the young people in particular, the prevention work, to gift them the skills of self-awareness that then leads to self-management, that then leads to self-responsibility, then the future generations are good to go. That part of learning self-awareness, when we require feedback from the outside world, in a lot of that feedback loop. I mean, ultimately, we're wanting to build biofeedback loops from self to self in relation to the world around us. But the people in any system, it becomes an arbitrary thing, doesn't it? The quality of the people that are giving their judgments, their opinions, and so on, and that makes people close down. So long-winded. The horses, as I witness and see and know, is they just mirror your radiance, your resonance, whatever that is. And what a beautiful, clean, clear bit of feedback. Like you said, that somebody says, "Oh, he wanted to deck me." That projection of a state of consciousness that existed for that person. Would have gone to the horse and then been mirrored back, rather than the other way around.
Absolutely.
So I'm thinking in the happy brain model, we focus very much on 3 levels of safety in the world that we live in, particularly the corporate world that you and I sometimes work in. There's this talk about psychological safety. It's a big thing, psychological safety. But as we know, if you don't have neurological safety, so that's the fight flight system switched off, and you don't have the biological, sociological safety, that is connection, being part of a herd or a tribe, then the psychological safety hasn't really, it's on very loose ground, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that again mirrors so well the work that we do with young people.
And we see that with the horses as well, because that's exactly how they operate. If they don't have that knowledge of being safe, then they will respond according to their telos, their natural state, their "I'm out of here." And if that's not possible, then stand by, because I'll be coming after you. They only do that if they absolutely have to. And it seems so easily. I think the other side of that is that, if I have seen it where horses have understood utterly that people have been in such a depleted state and without any kind of instruction or I mean, how I couldn't possibly do this anyway. I couldn't manufacture this. Have gone and stood next to somebody and just stood there. They're not necessarily touching, sometimes touching, not necessarily. And to see that person be seen and heard for them, sometimes that's the first time that's ever happened. And that's got nothing to do with me. If I'm kind of the facilitator in all of that's got nothing to do with me and everything to do with what the horse gets from that person's nervous system. And it's kind of a little bit heart-wrenching, but just so magic to see as well.
That's beautiful. And that, in the happy brain model, we have a basic needs model. And one of those essential brain needs is to be seen and heard.
Yeah.
And as you say, so many people never get that. In my work as a volunteer Samaritan, the thing that people call in for above everything else is, will you just hear my story? Don't judge me. Don't give me your opinion. We just hear it. It's a reminder of the sort of fragmentation of our society, really, isn't it? And yeah, pets then have a wonderful role to play.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're not talking about being seen like on screen or being heard because of our words. We're talking about something deeper. It's a more sort of spiritual connection, isn't it? Something deep within the soul of the human that is nourished.
Yeah. And I think that's what speaks to a lot of people, especially a lot of young people who the most common thing I hear from young people, either in their riding or actually just life in general, is who's looking at me and what are they thinking? And I feel it's probably been ever thus. I'm sure as a teenager, I was quite self-conscious and wondering what people were thinking as well. But it feels like that has escalated hugely. And so even riding in front of their so-called friends becomes impossible because their brains are so much in their own fight or flight because they're wondering what are they saying, what are they thinking, etc., etc. There's just no chance they can connect to the horse because their whole nervous system is kind of spiraling out of control. And when
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, when you see them, standing in a stable, just standing with a horse, and the horse is maybe munching or whatever the horse is doing, and they're just having a moment. I just wish the world was like that. that we didn't have that kind of judgment layer on top of everything. Because horses just don't do that.
Yeah. Well, obviously humans do, but more importantly, people terrorize themselves imagining that it's happening. Yes, of course it does happen, but that opens up a whole field of intervention, really, and what people are doing inside their mind.
Yeah.
But So, what would be a typical thing that you would help your riders do in order to connect with the behavior of connecting with the horse, being successful and safe and centered in the saddle? What would be some tips that you or some teaching points that you would offer them?
I think I would start out of the saddle. Typically when I'm teaching, I have an arena and people bring their horses and kind of come and ride and then take their horses home. And I don't know what's happened in their day before they get there, the person or the horse. I don't know what sort of journey they've had. I don't know how they are. So my very first job is, as they walk in the door, calibrate what's going on. How's the horse? How's the person? How are they together? And most often there is no connection whatsoever between them. The horse has arrived, the person's arrived, but there's kind of nothing happening in between. So starting out with the saddle, either walking round and for the person to match their steps to the horse. So they start to get some kind of synchronized movement. Another really cool thing to do is to just for them to stand and for the person to watch the horse, um, watch for their breathing, watch for their facial expressions, how fast they're blinking or slowly they're blinking. Is their head lowered, or are they, peacocking around to see what's happening? So just to start to get the rider to take a little bit of notice, and it almost doesn't matter how the horse is, but to start the connection, just notice. Because if you're not noticing, nothing else can happen. We've even done things like breathing together. So, for the rider to put their hand on the horse's side, with the back of the hand, actually, not the front of the hand, on the horse's side, and not necessarily synchronize the breath because we breathe at different rates, horses and humans, but just to be aware of their hands moving with the horse's side. It is a wonderful one to do. Depending on their beliefs and how they are, how the rider is, sometimes being able to connect the rider's heart space to the horse's heart space, a little bit out there, I know, and I don't always go there, but with some riders it works, it helps. Once people are on board, it's amazing doing a body scan. So for the rider from head to toe, and then don't stop there, keep going through the seat, through the saddle to the horse, and kind of just making that checking in. And when I watch the horse starts off by being a little bit remote and a little bit disconnected. But as the person does that, as the rider does that, you can almost see the horse. Obviously, the horse it has his head ahead, so can't see the rider because the rider's directly behind them. But you can almost see them looking behind them, definitely with their ears. They go inside, they go inward, and you can see them go, that feels a bit different. And the rider's done nothing other than make that connection. And I know people sort of say, "Oh, I couldn't possibly connect to my horse." No, that's just not a thing. That's just not what I do. It's a bit alternative. And when you see that actually, yeah, they really can, it completely changes their relationship with their horse. It's amazing.
Because you're really talking about the complexity of the energy field and how your attention and your intention plays a huge role in the way that the energies interact with each other.
Very much so. Mm-hmm.
We, as you know, in sort of the Happy Brain Core model, we major very much on trying to encourage small children and their parents to develop imagination. It's so important, and the sensory channels that keep you present and in the outside world, and then the imagination, as you say, to do a body scan. What actually does that mean? Mm-hmm. Some people will know immediately what it means, but others are like, whoa, what actually do you mean? And it means going into your inside vision, and there's a lot of intelligence in those fields, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And if I can keep a rider's attention going back to that as they're riding,
Mhm.
Um, the connection becomes more solid. It's a little bit like static to start with on the radio, where it's there, it's not, it's there, it's not. Oh, I've lost it. Oh, there it is again. But after a while, it just becomes way more natural. Um, and then that leads to the rider having way more body awareness as well, and understanding what they're doing with their hands on the reins and their legs and their seat, and are they holding their breath, or all of those things. It's kind of the first part on that journey, really.
Mm. It's a real repatterning, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Hmm.
So, what would you say is what's your most favorite thing? You may have already told us, but what's your most favorite thing about your job when you're working, coaching riders?
The situations where that make me want to ring someone and tell them about it, because it's just so amazing and I can't possibly keep it all inside, are the ones where a rider will come in leading their horse at arm's length, just in case they eat them, and start off by saying, "Now I'm not getting on today. I'm just walking round. That's all we're doing. And in fact, actually, if you would walk the horse around, that would be even better." And they get on. We go through a process and they get on. That might be all they do. They may get on, walk around once and get off. Amazing. And to see their smile and their positivity and their achievement and their all of that, that doesn't get any better, really. And they may never trot up a centre line and compete. They may never jump. They may only ride once a week to the gate of their drive and back. It doesn't matter. It's whatever they want to get out of their riding. And I think I've very much honed through Happy Brain that art of calibrating is a posh word, but that kind of instantly being able to see when they come in the arena where they're at and what might work, and being able to try something and go, oh, okay, let's just reverse. That's not quite the thing. Let's try something else. And being completely and utterly comfortable with doing that, trying something and going, oh yeah, right, that's not gone to plan. Let's try something else instead. And I absolutely think I've honed that through learning through Happy Brain, definitely to have the confidence to do that.
Because it is neurological, isn't it? What you're talking about, that learning and overcoming a habitual fear pattern of I'm afraid of horses, I'll never get on a horse.
Mm-hmm.
The thoughts creating the stress chemistry, creating a withdrawal, um, bodily movement. And by actually pushing through it's not a new thing, but when people actually push through their fears and they teach themselves that they can do something new and beyond the boundaries of what they had been limited by, it does something so powerful inside that brain and nervous system, because now it's got a whole new circuit to run, and if it gets habituated to become part of the autopilot, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And that, as you know, in our work with young people, that's self-esteem building. So many parents, managers, coaches, riding instructors, and so on will take the view that if you say, well done, really good, you did a really good job there, that you're going to help the self-esteem of, or build the self-esteem of the young person that I'm referring to. But of course, we know that that's not how it happens neurologically. They have to experience
Mm-hmm.
the build up and the breakthrough and then the repatterning of something. That's self-esteem building all over and over and over again.
Mhm, mhm,
Such a powerful,
mhm.
powerful tool.
And I want my clients to be able to do that without me being there,
Yeah,
because, they're with me for 45 minutes in that scenario.
yeah,
What are they going to do the rest of the time? Keep practicing the old thing? Well, I hope not. Um, I have to be able to instill it enough that that just becomes the pattern.
yeah.
There isn't an old one as far as they're concerned. That's just the pattern.
So let's just very quickly touch on the feast program that you run,
Mm.
um, Foundations for Excellence in Equestrian Coaching, and so it's a happy brain coaching model specifically for riding coaches. I dare say over the coming coach chats, we'll talk a little bit more about it. What what have you found has surprised these established, these experienced riding coaches who are already getting great results? And what has surprised them with the integration of Happy Brain?
Mhm. There have been so many light bulbs along the way. Uh, I think fun, introducing fun has to be one of the major ones, because just in the conversations that we have in the training, it becomes very evident that we all take it very seriously, because people want value for money and they've got to come and do all the stuff, whether it's fun or not. They have to do all the stuff, particularly if they're competing. And sometimes there's a parent involved wanting the child to do all the stuff, and it becomes very, very intense. And I've seen lots of people with light bulbs go, actually, yeah, why did we start doing this?
Yeah.
Because we love horses and it's fun, actually. And so they've taken away lots of stuff that we talk about through the training, um, but they also make their own stuff up as well, which is fantastic. Because that, again, I don't want them to do the training and go, okay, now you have to go and teach like that for the rest of your life.
Mm.
I want that to be the foundation for them going, oh, well, and I could do this thing, and I could try that thing as well, to just give them that freedom to just make their brains a little more elastic than they were before. And one of the most recent ones, um, and I know she won't mind me saying, has been a light bulb that actually it's really quite simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you just make it simple, everything else comes from that. And again, that sense that we have this position to hold because we're coaches and we have to be seen to know best, and all of that sort of stuff. And actually, even down to saying, actually, I don't really know what we should do about that. What do you think? How should this work? Well, we could, or we could, and that's truly, for me, being a coach. It's not telling somebody what to do. It's about being able to explore with them what might work here. What should we try? Inspiring them to try, and just doing the most simple thing. So that, yeah, that's been quite a recent one.
And
That's
I think, what you're describing there, when we model what we're teaching, when we model, I mean, good mental health stems from behavioral flexibility, being able to adapt, being able to deal with change and uncertainty. So, when we deal with, well, do you know what? I don't know, but and see the fun and the laughter and release all those wonderful thrive chemicals into the system, which dissolve the stress hormones. Um,
mm,
it's a whole wonderful way of living.
mhm,
And
mhm.
that runs out into all areas of life, really. Everybody takes life way too seriously. One of
I'm still learning. Sorry.
Well, one of my favorite things is I love listening to podcasts. I listen to them all the time, carry my phone around in the house, and when I'm not sort of working, but or on a car journey.
Mm.
And very often I'll just find a great comedian and listen to and the clever comedians. My favorite at the moment is a guy called Josh Johnson. If you get a chance to look him up, his view of the world is so funny, and his ability to focus our attention on the obscurity of politics or whatever is coming up, but
Yeah,
the storytelling and certainly the from an NLP point of view, his loops that he opens up and the way he blends life experience with from his past into what's going on out there. It's just, and it makes me laugh out loud. And um,
that's a gift.
I think that's really important to take care of our own chemistry. What do
Mhm.
you do for um, laughter or rejuvenating in that I'm not taking life seriously way?
Do you mean me personally or in my coaching?
You personally.
Well, as you know, I am quite a serious person. That's a label. I behave quite seriously. Anyway, that has always been me. So it is. I am learning how to loosen up myself. And actually, you say about comedy podcasts. I have actually just in the last few days started to listen to some, um, just to have that kind of be surrounded by that way of thinking, I guess. Um, and sometimes it takes a while just to loosen up. But I think that's really, really effective. So I shall be looking up James Johnson,
Josh Johnson.
Josh
Yeah, I'll
Johnson.
send you a link. It's really worth, I highly recommend it.
That'll be great.
Yeah, and yeah, the joy of finding life funny and and not taking it too seriously. In the NLP framework, as you know, we look at language and the effects that it has on the brain, on our own brains, and on other people's brains, and we have a model of phonological ambiguity or ambiguities. What ambiguities do is they tickle lots of parts of the brain simultaneously
Mhm.
rather than just go A to B, A to B.
Mhm.
And so when you start to hear those phonological ambiguities and the other ambiguities that are played out in humor, it just gives you a little internal giggle. It's
Mhm.
something worth honing, I think. So, well, thank you, Tracy. Thank you very much for your time, your expertise, and your enthusiasm, as always, for everything that you do in the happy brain world and with your work in the equestrian world.
Mhm.
I hope that anybody listening to this finds it interesting, stimulating. We'd love to have some questions. We are hoping to do this more often,
Mhm.
regularly. We're setting the bar, and yeah, just shooting the breeze really. But we'd love to hear from you if you have any specific themes that you'd like us to focus on, discuss, and yeah, just questions. People want techniques a lot,
Mhm.
and techniques are great. Having skills is great, but there are some foundational needs that require you to understand what's happening inside
Yeah.
the nervous system and the biological, social, emotional systems and the way that we organize thinking, which is what we teach.